down the mail. It's a noisy truck. Can you all hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
The post office, by slowing down the mail, is hurting millions of Americans, millions of New Yorkers, and it's worse during a COVID crisis. So many New Yorkers depend on the mail for their medicines. There are elderly, people with pre-existing conditions who can't go to the drugstore. They depend on the mails. When that prescription is late, there's anxiety. I know. Now, I get statins for cholesterol. They're not life-threatening. If I don't get them, it's not life-threatening. But when those pills are late, I feel anxious. Imagine how a senior citizen feels when there's life-dependent pills and they are late. Lots of people rely on the mails to get other necessities during COVID. So to slow down the mail at any time is disgraceful. To slow it down at COVID is despicable and hurts people's lives. It also hurts many of our postal workers. We have tens of thousands in New York. They're not hiring them adequately. It hurts our small businesses. It hurts our elderly. And here's a group that hurts a lot, our veterans. Our veterans depend on the mail to get their medications. A lot of them aren't getting it. And then, of course, Donald Trump is aimed at hurting the elections. He has said, this man has no limits, unlimited gall. He says he wants to slow down the mail to hurt the elections and make people doubt the results of the election. Maybe he's worried he's going to lose. It doesn't matter. Our elections are sacred. Men and women have died for them and the right to vote. And to do this is disgraceful. The postal system is well loved by America. 91% of America approves of the postal system. But it's now being 100% undermined by the Postmaster General, a political hack appointee of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is undermining some of the most sacred institutions in America, and the post office is at the top of the list. I've warned about this for a long time. We must stop these destructive actions. No overtime, not filling positions that are empty, dismantling machines that are very much needed to distribute the mail. And now, the goal to tell states that say that election ballots will not be treated as first-class mail, which they should, because our elections are sacred to America. The problem is President Trump, but it's also that political hack appointee, Mr. DeJoy. I called him 3 times to meet with him. He wouldn't meet with me. I then told Meadows and Mnuchin we're not negotiating any further unless he comes and sees us, because Postal is part of our negotiations. I spent almost 2 hours with him, and I can tell you, Mr. DeJoy has a public be damned attitude. He said, I'm doing what I want, in so many words. So, we're demanding 3 things today to try and straighten out this situation. First, I'm demanding that the Senate hold hearings and call Mr. DeJoy and the head of the Postal Commission before them this week. I'm demanding that Leader McConnell go into regular session so we can have these hearings, and then Senator Johnson have the hearings, call Mr. DeJoy, call the head of the Postal Commission for them, and ask them why they're doing these things, and see what answers they're getting. And if Mr. DeJoy refuses to appear, he should be stamped return to sender. He shouldn't be allowed to be the Postmaster General if after all this destruction he can't answer to the American people what he is doing. Second, I'll be introducing legislation that will do three things. Number one, say all election mail is treated as first class, must be treated as first class by the post office. So first, all election mail must be treated as first class by the Postal Service. Two, that all of the overtime be restored, and the people who haven't been able to come to work for the COVID have replacements, so we have a full complement of workers. And three, that they put back together all the machines they've destroyed, the mail sorting machines, that will slow these things down. Our legislation will demand it, and we will place that legislation on the COVID-4 bill or some other must-pass legislation. We will get this done. And third, if Speaker Pelosi brings back the House to vote on very similar legislation, which she is preparing, I will demand that Leader McConnell bring back the Senate to vote on it as well. We cannot have McConnell ignore this problem, stay at home, say we don't have a problem as he's done in the past. So, all of our actions mean one thing. Let's save the post office. Let's save the post office. It's vital to Americans in normal times. It's more vital in times of COVID. It's even more vital in times of elections. Let's save the post office. And the vast majority of Americans and New Yorkers, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, I know join me in asking this to happen. Okay, I think I've said everything I'm going to say. Okay, let me just talk briefly about the convention, and then we'll take questions only on this subject. We're not going off topic, okay? First, at the convention. Well, I am very honored to have been asked to speak at the convention. I will be speaking with the Statue of Liberty, looking over my shoulder from the Brooklyn waterfront, and speaking about immigration and its importance to New York and to America. Questions? This lady in the back had a question.
Beth.
Beth. There is, Speaker Pelosi and I are looking at having a standalone bill. The House, she can call it back into session. She can do that. I hope she will. And then I will ask Leader McConnell to call the Senate back in session to do a standalone bill.
Are you confident that Leader McConnell will bring the Senate back into session?
Ask him. So far, he's not been cooperative with all the illness and economic hardship of COVID, but there is huge pressure everywhere. I'm getting hundreds of calls to my office about people worried about getting their medicines, worried about getting their vital needs taken care of, and worried about the election and voting. My parents are 97 and 92. They have voted every year. My father would get home from work, come home from work. He was an exterminator, tired as he could be, but he would wait online to vote. Well, he's 97. He needs to vote by mail. And he, like millions of other senior citizens, doesn't want to be told, we're not going to treat your mail as first class and it might not get counted.
Can I ask you the last
No. Another question first. He's very good at asking a lot of questions. So are you. These are you camera guys. These are the two guys who hold you up the most.
Now, you seem to have a pretty strong opinion on the Postmaster General when you met with him. What did that conversation sound like? What was the place?
Nancy and I were there. He came in and he was sort of public be damned. So that's why I say we should stamp him with return to sender if he won't appear before the hearing. And I might add, that is appropriate to say today. Does anyone know why? It's appropriate to tell him he should be stamped return to sender today because today is the 43rd anniversary of Elvis Presley's death. How many of you remember the song Return to Sender? Come on. God. Famous Elvis song. Okay. Yes. You asked. Any more questions?
Did he give any explanation on why with dismantling
He said he had to make it more efficient. To make it more efficient means making the mail delivered on time, in the right way, in a less cost-effective way. It doesn't mean go tell all the post offices, which he's done here in New York. I've been at the big postal centers at Long Island, at Buffalo, and Rochester this week, and they're telling them, it always used to be a credo, if the mail was at the distribution center that day, it would go out that night. They're saying, let it sit there for a few days. That's not efficiency.
Senator, do you have your new holder signed one more time?
Of course. Thank you, everybody. Be safe.
Did you speak to Peter McConnell, or do you have an open line of communication?
We're sending him a letter.
That was just my second.
Sending him a letter.
So not in the not in the-
You think it'll get there?
Will he get it?
It's going to be hand-delivered to his office.
the e-version.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank